Alright, so in the last episode I talked about module scripts. If you still have any questions regarding that, feel free to message me on Discord or on Roblox. My DMs are open. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about remote events and how they work exactly. I'm going to pull up a notepad so I can explain it better. Alright, so we have Roblox, as Roblox has a client, which is whenever you join a game, you're using the client. And then the game itself is the server. So that's what the local scripts and server scripts are for, right? So, but in order to communicate from the client to the server, you need to have a remote event because stuff on the client is not replicated or transferred over to server unless it's used by a remote event. So I'm going to go ahead and just make a little diagram. So this is the client. Why is the text so big? So this is us, the client, when we join a Roblox game. So like if you join Adopt Me, you're playing on the client. If you join Jailbreak, you're playing on a client. Uh, if you join any Roblox game ever created, you're playing on the client. So let's say you're on the client and you pick up. No, let's say you're on the client and you're damaging another player. So I'm gonna right? So we're damaging a player. So you decided to damage a player, right? I'm going to draw an arrow down to that. Oh my gosh, that's a terrible arrow. So you damaged the player. The server, which is the thing that controls everything, like when you spawn into the game and you're given stuff, that is done by server, not the client. So we're going to do this. So this is the server right here. So when you pick up something and you damage the player, if you damage the player won't be damaged on their side. They won't know they're damaged because when you shoot the player, you're damaging the player on your client. And that's not replicated over the server because it's like, hey, the server doesn't even know you hit the player because it's not registered unless you use a remote event or remote function. So, and this is what I'm talking about remote events. So, in order to actually get the server to recognize, hey, I damaged this player, you need a remote event. So these replicate stuff from client to server and server to client. So if you want the client to have something that the server does not and nobody else sees, you would fire the client so the only person that sees that is the client. For instance, if you have a special ability, right? You don't want everybody to have the special ability that this player has because he's activating it. In that case, you would fire the client to activate the special ability from the server, right? So it's not for everybody else. Now, if you fired the server, it would activate it for everybody. You have to fire the client in that case for special ability. It's same thing like if you're damaging a player. You don't want to fire the whole server, so you would have to single out this person that you want to damage, right? So that's essentially how replication works in Roblox. So we have the client here, we have the remote event, and we have the server. The server doesn't know that the player got damaged. So in order for the server to know, we have to fire the server, which would then, the remote event would be like, oh hey, so oh my gosh. It would recognize, once you fire the server, it would recognize, hey, you damaged a player, right? Let's call it a player named Jimmy, right? So Jimmy, you damaged a player. His name is Jimmy. So then once you fire the client server with that information, it would send this information to the server. And the server would go, hey, I know you just damaged Jimmy because I got a message from an event. So it'd be, okay, I'm going to damage Jimmy for 10 health, per se. So Jimmy will have 90 health instead of 100 health. But if you don't do this and you completely take out this replication step, Jimmy will still have 100 health on server. That's why you need this middle step to get to the server. So I'm actually going to go ahead and do that in real practice. So I'm actually going to make a gun. Now it's very simple actually. I'm just going to make a simple little pistol. I'm going to put a part, right? So I'm going to do a part, and I want to make another part. And we got ourselves a gun. And I am going to anchor these things together. Or weld, sorry. So they stay together, right? I have to name this one handle because if I don't name it handle, the tool won't know what it's talking about, and it'll just say, hey, these are two parts that need to be... These are just two parts in a tool. And now I'm going to insert a tool. This tool allows the player to pick it up. So I'm going to name this gun. So now we have a gun that the player can pick up, right? So now I'm going to put that in starter pack. So I'm going to start the game just to show you guys, hey, we have a gun and the player can actually pick it up, right? That is really big. My gosh. So it's a little crooked. I'm actually going to use a nice little plugin that helps me twist it. Perfect. Okay, so it was, I think it was like that way. I don't know. Just twist it. Yeah, there we go. So now we have a gun, right? Now I'm gonna make a folder to keep the things organized. I'm gonna make this, and I'm also gonna put a remote event inside of replicated storage and call this fire, right? Now I am going to just insert an NPC from rig editor in the plugins tab. Just do that, simple. Nice little guy that they give you can target practice with. So there we go. So I'm going to put a local script and a server script inside of here. I talked about both of these in my scripting basics. I think it was episode 3, I think I talked about these. One is for server communications and others for client. Like I said, this one right here is for client. This one is for server. I'm going to name it server so you're not confused. Client. So now we have two scripts. And you may be thinking, well, how do I do stuff? Well, it's rather simple, actually. It's not as hard as you think it is. I'm going to get the gun. Script.parent. Parent, right? Yeah, parent. Yeah, so script.parent, this is the gun. So now I have the gun. But now we need to check if the player actually equipped the gun. So to do that, I'm going to do gun.equipped, which is a function. And I'm going to connect it to another function, right? I'm going to connect it to a function. This is going to fire whenever the gun is equipped. This is going back to my functions video. There are many other functions, like I mentioned. If you go, simply all you have to go to is the object browse. There are tons and tons of functions, child added. But I'm assuming you already know how to get there because I mentioned that multiple times, so I'm not going to explain it as much as I would usually. So now we know that the player equipped the gun, right? So now I'm going to use... I'm going to get the player. Obviously, we have to get the player. So game.player is a local player, then I'm going to get the mouse. So to get mouse, you use the 2 dots and get mouse. This essentially gets the mouse. Actually, I don't need, yeah, I'm just going to do that. And then I'm going to put a can fire variable equals false. And then when the player equips it, I'm going to set the can fire to true. So now the guy can't fire. And then I'm going to detect if the mouse has a button 1 down. If the player clicks his left mouse button, then it will fire. So mouse button 1 down connect function, and now it will fire. So, and then I'm going to do an if statement. We talked about those in episode 7, I believe. If can fire, then now we can fire. I am going to go to get replicated storage. I'm going to get that remote event we talked about in replicated storage. Local event, or local fire, sorry, equals game.replicated storage.fire. So now we got the fire. Fire invo, or fire server. So now we have fired the server, right? Now, I'm going to do something called raycasting, because I don't really, raycasting I'll teach 2 in 1, why not? Raycasting is essentially something you cast a ray. It's very simple to understand. I'll explain it so you understand. So essentially raycasting is, I am going to fire the server. Once the mouse clicks, I'm going to feed in the mouse.hit position, right? So mouse.hit, that sends the position that the client gave to the server. Now if we notice, fire.onServerEvent connect function, this is connecting the player. Now whenever you use remote events, the first argument is always player. If you do not use player as the first argument, it won't work, because this always has to be here, because it always returns players the first parameter or argument, whatever you want to call them. And then the position. Now if I do it, print, I already did a print. I'm going to print the player and I'm going to print the position. Right? So now we see, hey, wow, that's crazy. It's printing out my name and it's printing out the position that I clicked. So now we know that's good. And I'm going to do a little thing called raycasting. So I'm going to create local raycast. So this creates a variable of raycast in ray.new. This creates a new ray. So vector3.origin. So I'm going to do position local. I'm going to do local start equals gun dot part, because that's the barrel dot position. So we're going to do, where's the starting position? Well, it's right here. And then what is the direction of the ray? You could do start plus the whatever you want, but normally I usually just do, in situations like this, I would simply do position, right? And then I would just do position times 1000 to keep it simple. So what this does is creates a new array with the starting position, the barrel of the gun, the part right here, and the position that we clicked, this right here. So wherever we clicked, it's going to multiply that by 1000 and it's going to cast a ray in that direction. Now, we just created a ray. Now, in order to detect if the ray has hit something, I'm going to do local hit position. So I'm going to set this equal to game.workspace. So game.workspace, find part on ray. This will find the part that it touches. And then we feed in the raycast, that variable we just created. And now I'm going to print hit and position. Now if we run it, I don't think I can actually do that. I didn't do the position correctly. It's going to error. Yeah. Vector3 expected got number. I gave it a C frame, because mouse.hit is a C frame. Now it should work. Yep, there we go. So now we see it is, that's incorrect. I gotta do look vector. This essentially gets the direction that the mouse is and shoots it in that general direction. Sorry. I haven't, you know. So now we notice, hey, it's hitting base plate. Now it's hitting that. Now it's hitting the base plate again. And now it's going to hit the humanoid root part. Wherever my mouse is, now it's hitting the left arm. Now it's hitting the base plate again. Now it's, yeah, if we see in the output right here, it's hitting wherever I'm clicking. I could do that. Humanoid root part. It's clicking on the upper leg. It's not very accurate, but that's the premise of the way it works. So now we have to check, hey, what if it hits something? So I'm going to do a Pcall function, which a Pcall function is very simple to understand. It literally prevents the script from breaking if it errors. So Pcall function, that's all you do. Just simple Pcall function. And this fires whenever this. If hit, find first child, like we said, it's a, I use that multiple times. Humanoid. This will find the child humanoid. And if it finds it and we're good, then I'll set it to a variable called humanoid equals that. Then I'm going to damage humanoid minus 10. Alright? So now we know that if it finds a humanoid, then it can't actually damage it. It's hit.parent. That's why, because when you hit a part, like for instance, if you hit the leg, it's saying, hey, okay, so I'm going to go search the leg for the humanoid. The leg is not, the arm is not, the humanoid is not in the arm. It's in the parent of the arm, the dummy. That makes sense? If you don't know what parents are, watch my parent video. So now we do that, and now it should damage the player or the dummy or whatever player you're shooting at on server and on client because we're using a remote event. I gotta fix the accuracy on this thing. It's like Phantom Forces. Alright, so we see now we can actually damage the player. Yeah, see, look. And if I go to a server by clicking on this, we noticed it's damaged, right? Now you're saying, what if I want to do it on client? Well, here, I'll show you. I'm going to do the same exact thing I did on this as I did on that. So I'm just going to copy and paste this, right? So we're going to do position, mouse. Yeah, so now you'll notice it's going to actually, it's still going to damage the player, right? Look vector is not available, member player mouse. It's mouse.hit.look vector. This is why we can't have nice things. So I'm now, there we go. So now, no errors, we're good. So if we fire at the dummy, we notice, hey, it's still damaging it. What are you talking about? Why do I need to use remote events? Well, we notice if we click on the humanoid here, his health is still at 100%. But if we go on to the client, which is me, and we go to the same place, we notice his health is at 0 because he got damaged on client. That brings back to this right here. I damaged the player on client and his health was lowered, but there's no replication, so it doesn't replicate to server, right? So without that remote event fire thing I showed you, fire right here, let me go into my studio and show you that real quick. Let me go back all the way, yeah. Without this right here, it doesn't know that it hit. So we're basically getting rid of this step right here. And if it doesn't do that, then this never happened. So it's like, so let me just erase that. So it says, hey, we damaged the player on my client, but the server has no idea it existed because this never happened. And that's basically how remote events work. They communicate with the server to get things to happen. And without them, they don't happen. And if you have any questions, DM me on Discord or really do anything. I do message me on Roblox. I'm always open. I have a help server if you don't understand this. If you did understand this, please leave a comment or a like or whatever. I don't really care if you subscribe. I'm just here to help people. If you do subscribe, it'd be nice because if you understood this, it'd be nice to have other people understand it too. You know what I mean? And it's kind of hard to get noticed without subscribers. It's depressing. But if you don't subscribe, no problem. If you didn't like the video, please dislike it and leave a comment why you did not like it, because I need to know to improve for other people who have the same problem. Alright, see ya next time.